Hello everyone, Lily the Deck Harlot here. Long time no see. I'll be honest with you with COVID around here, and although stay-at-home orders were eventually lifted and we're able to go out a little bit, it's still like we're still having problems here in my community. In the city I live in with COVID cases. So once the nice weather started in May, because we did have a late, well, spring took its time this year. I was still wearing my winter clothes up to our Victoria Day weekend. The warm weather started, it took a while. And once the nice weather was here, well, I ended up wanting to be outside most of the time and enjoying the nice weather and sitting outside. That I didn't want to be cooped up and recording videos. I mean, you know, once, like now, you know, our days are short. The sun goes down at, you know, 4:15, and it's still, you know, it's still getting earlier and earlier every day until December 21st. So we have long winters, and I figured that, well, recording videos are for winters. As well as I did start sewing masks, and having a small space in a house, or, you know, even living in a small house, like my house is only 900 square feet. It's like living with the money you have. You can do anything you want, but you can't do everything you want. So I have a choice. I can either set up my sewing machine and sew and play with fabric, or I can record videos. But playing with the two, trying to do both, is problematic because I just don't have the room. But anyway, suffice to say, there's my little update. So I thought I'd come on here and start doing videos again, and this time I'll be doing the tarot collector hashtag started by Moon Baby. I've been enjoying everyone's video, and I thought I'd jump in. So for the first question, which is your most expensive deck, I'll have to say that the one I spent the most money on is the Soma tarot deck. And the reason it was expensive is because last year, was it not last year, maybe 2 years ago, the creator found a batch of those cards with the bottles, with the bottle back. So I ended up buying a copy, and so yeah, so this was not a cheap purchase. I forget if it, I think it came from New Zealand, so $30 US shipping just off the bat, on top of the cost of the video, sorry, the deck itself. But it's a beautiful deck, and although the cards are a bit big, but so that's it for my most expensive deck. And for a change of pace, for the cheapest deck, and I'd have to say it's this one here. I forget, I think it's called, it's been referred, this is called actually the complete kit, but I think it's also known as Tarot Nova. And it's a tiny deck. So the size of it, these are the backs. And this is just a tiny whimsical. And the thing is I didn't even pay the list price on it, which is well, I can't find the price anymore. Oh, here it is, $10.95 Canadian. And I actually bought it from a remainder table. You know, when you go into these stores and they have a table where everything is reduced. So this was the case for this deck. And it's a cute little deck. And I like small decks too because of my small hands. So that's number 2. The deck others collector want to steal from your collection. Now I do have, like some other viewers, I do have the Hansen-Roberts Tarot and I do have the Spirit Keepers, but I thought that I do go with something different because I don't think I've seen anyone talk about it. But I'm gonna say I have a copy of the Circo Tarot. The creator has stopped creating decks, and I think this was the last edition. But it's another one. It's an arty deck, and it's unusual in some of the symbols and the colors. So I can't say I've seen a lot of people say that, but it's started, you know, it's, I know that everybody I've showed this deck, they like it, and they're, you know, unfortunately they can't get it anymore. It's not available. I do know that it was also sold under the name, it did become mass market somehow, a little bit like the Wild Unknown, but it's not available. I haven't seen it. I've only seen the book available on places like Amazon and Chapters. The deck How to Deal was sold through Urban Outfitters, I think it was. So, but this is an indie version that I have here. So, Your Strangest Deck. Okay. I'm actually going to talk about 2 here. My strangest deck in terms of creepy is Deviant Moon. Just because, you know, I resisted this deck a long time because, I'll be honest, it gave me the creeps. But, you know, eventually it became an impulse purchase. And because I had it in my collection, I participated in a group where, you know, we take a deck and we study it for 21 days. So this was my pick for this study group. And it turned out to be that it's a really great reader. So I got over my squeaminess over looking at this deck. But, you know, some of the images are still strange and creepy. So, and I mean, they're really not, you know, you won't get the warm and fuzzies by looking at this deck. And the other deck I wanted to talk about, sorry for reaching, in terms of strange, is the Tyldwick Tarot. And I'm calling it strange just because, although it does follow the tarot structure, there's no people in it. And, you know, imagine walking into someone's house and there's nobody there. This is kind of the feeling that I get when looking at this. You know, you're walking into a house, someone's house. So their personalities are on display. And they're not there. So, you know, it's not the most comfortable feeling. But it's a beautiful deck, though. I think I've been showing you cards upside down. So, there's the Tyldwick Tarot. Your oldest deck or the deck you've had the longest? Well, that's easy. I went with the deck I've had the oldest, and this is my first deck. And it's the Hansen-Roberts deck. So, it's Rider-Waite based. It follows the images like the same, you know, it's pretty much a Rider-Waite clone. Like, there's not much deviation from the original images. And, you know, it's a small deck, which I like. But, so this is the deck I've had the longest, and I bought this in 1991. So it's not young. And it's still in print, so there's the power of it. My newest deck, and my newest deck is, I got it in a trade, and no, actually I did buy it from someone, but it is secondhand, and look at this pouch, people. And it's a matching pouch, and it's the Tarot des Aux Arcs, and I believe this is the first edition. I'd have to check. Actually, I haven't checked, but although the creator says it's not a Marseille type deck, well, I don't know how she thinks that, but I find it's Marseille based and Pippish. So. And I'll show you one last one. So, and oh, I think I missed a question here. So, the deck other collectors are least likely to have in their collection. And I'm going to say I have two here. And this was a limited edition put out by Dusty White. I have number 55 here. And it's a Rider-Waite deck. So you get authentication card, but it is, you know, it's regular. It reminds me a little bit of the, here are the backs actually. It reminds me of the Centennial. And, you know, the clip, what I like about this deck is there's an extra card, and it's a John Lennon, King of Swords. And the other deck I have is it's actually just a Majors deck with quick cards. And I don't think it has a name, but it's you know, it's a deck by Carrie that everybody got when we attended a conference in 2017 in Kingston here, Ontario. It's actually like a preliminary example of the deck she eventually came out last year, which I'm sorry right now I forget the name. But, you know, where she took old vintage pictures and manipulated them into tarot cards. So, and this one is not available unless you were at the conference. It's not available at all. So, that satisfies this category. And the deck that made you want to collect decks. I'm going to be honest with you. When I start a hobby, I collect. You know, I'm a knitter, so I collect yarn. I'm a spinner, I collect fiber. I'm a sewer, I collect fabric. So when I started reading tarot cards 30 years ago, I got the Hansen-Roberts, and then this was my second deck, which is the Mythic Tarot. And so although it's not my oldest, the one I've had the longest, it's actually the second deck I've had the longest. And I've been collecting on and off ever since. Although, you know, by now I think a lot of the decks that I collected in the 90s are like I got rid of them, most of them. And yeah. So, and over the years I did go through culls in my collection. So I haven't kept them all. And my favorite deck from my collection. Well, again, you know, I'm a Gemini. If you ask me next week, it'll probably change. But right now, the deck I reach out most these days to read with is the Spirit Keepers Vitruvian edition. And just because I did the 20, a few weeks ago I finished the 20 work week, the 20-week workbook that Annabelle had put out. And so, you know, for most of the summer until recently, that was a deck I was using most of the time and reading with. And this deck has a lot of symbolism that, you know, she does. Annabelle doesn't do anything by half. Although she is all over the place in the symbolism, you know, there's not. Like, you can't point to one thing and say, oh yeah, you know, she borrowed from several pantheons and different religions, and I wonder how many people are going to be able to remember it all. I know I won't, so it's a good thing she did follow the Rider-Waite system, or, you know, someone familiar with the Rider-Waite can read with this, because otherwise it would be impossible to learn. It's a lifelong thing. And I think that's about it. I think I've answered all the questions. And I just want to say I've enjoyed everyone who posted their VR. And I want to thank Moon Baby for putting it up. I think it was a really great tag and a fun one. So until next time, have a good day.